Hi guys. Okay, today I'm at the tool bench, or my jewelry bench rather, and I am making a man in the moon pendant. So what I have done, you can get these at Michael's. It's just a silicone faces mold. I really like this one. I don't remember the name of the company. Let me see if I can find that. Um, I think it's normally used for like Sculpey and things like that. So it's just the flexible push mold. These are great for quick little projects. They're just art doll faces. I think they're meant for clay, but I use hot glue, which works really nicely for the jewelry pieces that I make. Um, so what I've done, I just put hot glue in the mold. Simple, right? And then you wait till it cools down, and then you pop them out, and then you can paint them. So these are some of the ones that I've painted so far. I had a bunch of others. I don't know where I put them, so, you know, it's what happens in the studio. So all I'm going to do is make my pendant. So what I've done is I just cut out a piece with my um, oh, stamp set, punch set rather. So I used the biggest one for this one. So I think this one is I want to say a 1 inch. Yeah, so 1 inch. I choose the biggest one usually. It makes it a little bit easier to work with. If it's too small, I find it's a bit more difficult to find the right sizes that you need. So it's just a question of what you have on hand. So that's what I had on hand. So I've created texture. I made my hole for my jump ring to put onto chain or some twine or cord or whatever you feel like doing. Twine wouldn't be very comfortable, but cotton um, or silk or something like that would be pretty. So I just texture it and flatten it out, and then I've slightly cupped it so that it will hold what I'm going to do with it next. Next is a washer, just a copper washer. These are fairly thin ones, so I think these are more of a seal, copper seal kind of thing. You can find these at the hardware store. I used to work in a warehouse where we sold a lot of this kind of stuff, so I just have little bits hanging around. I have large ones, small ones, different ones, different sizes. Check out your husband's junk jar in the garage, or, go to the hardware store and help yourself to a few things. They're fairly inexpensive, and if you're looking to make a project that is fairly simple, these are inexpensive to make. So all I've done is flattened it out and then cupped it in my dapping block. I got this one at Michael's, same as the wooden one. So, most of us have a lot of these if you're making jewelry. You could also just see if you, I don't know if you see my other video where I made little trinket bowls, but you could do the same thing on this and then just keep going on with a small hammer and then create it sort of like a little dome shape with this too. So that works just as well. But I like this because it's the perfect size for what I'm working on here. So all I do is sort of line it up. It does not have to be perfect. It is handmade after all, so not machine made, right? But I do want it to be sort of central. I mean, nothing is perfectly round here, which is fine. And all I've done is painted my little face. I've trimmed the back a bit with just an X-Acto knife. And then a little bit of, filing with an old emery file. Don't use it for your nails again. It probably wouldn't work very well. But you want it sort of flat, and you don't want it to be too bulging, because then it won't sit nicely in your pendant. So I kind of like offsetting it a little bit. This is the finicky part, so bear with me. All I'm going to use is the Glossy Accents by Ranger. I'm not sure if you could use other things. You probably could. I don't see why not. Whatever you have on hand, I suppose. But I like the Ranger Glossy Accents. So all I'm going to do is first I'm going to attach my piece. And then I'm going to fill in the area. And I go over the face too. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because you want to make sure it stays all inside the little well that you've created with that washer. So this will act as a glue basically, and as a protector for your face, the man in the moon here. I do have some little white beads. I don't know if I'm going to, well, maybe I will. Okay, let's see how this works rather. You don't necessarily have to apply anything else, which is perfectly okay. But I kind of like the idea of making like a little halo, like a moon halo around it. And it add a little bit of texture. Now be careful, if you've overfilled this, this might actually go over top of it. So you don't want to overfill it. You can use whatever color you want, but kind of like the contrast of the white. And then maybe one more. Maybe not. There's such a thing as overdoing it. It's okay if those stick out a little bit, and you can push them in, as long as you're not going to spill over the edge. Now this is the hard part. You gotta leave that to dry. I would let it dry for at least a couple of days. I wouldn't even touch it. I would leave it alone. Don't do anything else with it. The glue itself underneath will hold everything together, and the less you move it, the better off you are. So I will have a complete tutorial on my blog at sashacreates.blogspot.com to show you how I've done this step by step, and it'll show you how I painted and how I did all the different aspects of it. So, but that's basically it. And then in the next video, I will show you a couple of others that I've made, and then I will show you the complete set with all the faces that I've created so far, and then, you know, see what we can come up with. There's a few different ideas that are floating around in my head. This same technique would work really nicely for sea glass, because sea glass, you know, they don't come with holes, so you'd have to drill them. But I have a whole jar of sea glass that I wanted to try and make some jewelry with, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do something different. So this is the first in the series, and if you like it so far, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!